What's going on, people? Welcome again to the CSU podcast where we talk about sports. We're back again for another episode of the NBA basketball talk show. On this week's episode, we kind of just look into the James Harden situation. He pretty much forced his way from the Houston Rockets to the Brooklyn Nets. Over the past weeks, he's turned up to training overweight, pretty much not playing good in game. Houston had no choice but to trade him to the Brooklyn Nets. So we posed the question: did they actually get enough for James Harden? What is enough for James Harden? I mean, he's an MVP player, So what is enough for him? What would a player of that value go for in this day and age? We also talk about the net situation. How would he fit with Kyrie Irving and KD? Would Kyrie be okay? Should he be the third option? Me personally, I don't think so. Kyrie's over the past couple of weeks has been going missing, has been playing games. He thinks he's the leader, but he really isn't. So how would he feel about being the third option? James Harden's better than Kyrie. KD's better than Kyrie. What's the situation gonna be like over there? What's the dynamics gonna be like? Also the team lineup. The Nets pretty much kind of like traded the old team. They've gone a bench. They've gone a big man. DeAndre Jordan is not really what it was when he played for the LA Clippers. What can they do with a lineup? Can they actually play defense? Steve Nash, first time head coach, assistant coach Mike D'Antoni, he's not really known for playing defense. So how's that gonna work? Enjoy the show, people. The Big Ten, James Harden, Brooklyn Nets. So from your point of view, like who actually won the trade? So the Houston Rockets, they go Victor Oladipo. He's on like an expiring contract. They also got a guy called Rojon Carriers, Dante Exum, again expiring contract. They go on 4 unprotected first round picks, and they also go 4 unprotected first round picks. So Houston go. For the Nets, obviously they got James Harden. The Pacers, they got Caris LeVert and the 2023 second round pick from Houston. And the Cleveland Cavaliers, they got Jared Allen and Tavon Prince. Did Houston get enough for James Harden?
From what I'm seeing, it's all about the feedback, because Houston has all these draft picks, which is good, but that's what I'm looking for. That's not something
you don't know what they're worth yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The draft picks they have, all those teams could finish high and they could be worthless. They could be bottom of the selection. So it's kind of hoping that these teams do poorly going forward, like for Houston.
I don't think there's a value you can get for James Harden in draft picks that makes you happy, Because even if you get Zion Williamson in the draft or something, that's still not the same as losing James Harden, But I suppose if you got 4 of them, then that's why you're not going to get 4. You're not going to get 4 great players for the draft picks. But I think they did the best they could, right? I mean, sounds like the guy kind of took the piss of it in the locker room.
Don't forget they lost an all-star. They got another all-star, albeit not on the same level, but they still got an all-star. And when they first got James Harden into the Rockets, the deal, they gave up a lot of draft picks for him as well. So it's kind of like, obviously he's gotten way better since he came to the Rockets and his value has increased, but they sort of like got a return on their investment, not of equal value, but
yeah, they had to get him out. They had to get Harden out there.
Yeah,
it was going to be tough.
I mean, he's already, you go to the media and you openly disrespect your teammates, management, everybody basically. I mean, it was, after he said that, I wasn't sure, like, how are you going to be step on the same court with the John Wall gave their piece and they said they were completely, it was disrespectful. So he had basically broken bonds at that stage.
Yeah, so this is my team as well. So we talked about play power, and my team is like, we can see how easily this guy can actually force their way out. So James Harden pretty much just forced his way out. What can teams actually do? They had no choice but to trade him. Like, was being a bit destructive, like he showed up overweight. So that's what it comes down to as well, like play power. Like these players can actually once they want out, they can just find a way to actually get out. Do you think he will actually walk out from it with the Nets?
I'm gonna say it works out and he wins. Like I just don't see how that team does not win a championship. Those 3 guys
this season or in next maybe 2-3 years.
In next 2-3 years, like maybe the Lakers have this one just because of chemistry, because of Kyrie and that kind of stuff, and KD is just first year back maybe. But I mean, if those 3 guys don't win a championship together, then that's a problem. Like that's a problem. Like
that would be seen as disgraceful.
I think this is a make or bust season for the Nets.
It's still early on for them to fix, obviously. Okay, look, we don't know when Kyrie's returning. He's not coming back this Saturday, and the NBA haven't given their final ruling on, is he going to have to quarantine, blah, blah, blah. That potentially could be out for a lot of games, which could mean James Harden and KD get to bond and play well on the courts and build some sort of chemistry. Kyrie comes back. Now you have an issue. Kyrie's a ball handler. James Harden's a ball handler. KD doesn't need to be on the ball that much. He doesn't need to bring it up. You pass it to him, he does his thing. So I think the problem then is Kyrie and James Harden. Are you both willing to sacrifice ball time and distribute more?
Just before we move on from Houston, right? Like if you're Boogie Cousins or you're John Wall in that locker room, and this guy comes in disrespecting everyone, what do you like? How do you take that? What do you do?
Was it really that bad, to be honest? I heard what he said at the press conference, and to be honest, there was nothing there that I was thinking, oh, this is horrible. Like, this is like, we ain't best friends no more. I'm playing with you no more. I was thinking, like, is it that deep? Like, are you that sensitive? Like you said, okay, fine. Talent wise, a team in there, chemistry wise, a team in there. That's all true, no?
Well,
he could rephrase it in a different way to make it nicer, but he's still saying the exact same thing.
No, so you have to think back to when we talked before about James Harden. For one, he didn't show up to their training at the start, so already disrespecting them. Two, on the court, he may have dropped good points, but like there's no effort from him at all. And then you go look at other things, his comments to the media, basically calling the rest of his teammates bums. Like John Wall was kind of just disappointed, being like, we're not even 10 games into our season and you've given up. Like, you want to go win a championship, you can't play 10 games and just give up. The 72 game season and you've already given up on your team. You just want to go somewhere else. It's a kind of a lack of motivation. We've seen it with Harden in the playoffs before, living and dying by the tree, and then just having no motivation when they fell behind to like the likes of the Lakers or anything. There was no more get up and go. So there is an attitude problem there, and you would feel disrespected. Boogie's Cousins, great player. Yeah, he has been injured, but I'm going to be interested to see that matchup, and Boogie has to play against James Harden again, because that's not going to be pretty.
I don't think they're going to have a conflict on the court when they finally face off with each other. I don't think that there's going to be a conflict. I don't expect Boogie Cousins to be marking James Harden one-on-one. But what I'll say is this. When you say in the conference, we don't have good chemistry, and like Clay pointed out, you don't show up for training camp and all this kind of antics you have outside the court, and then you also mention lack of talent. You've just played with Boogie Cousins and John Wall for a few games, guys that are coming back from the injuries, and they're actually playing really well, and you're saying there's no talent. When you use that word, you're addressing the entire bench and the entire starter.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily mentioning names, but when you say that word, it's applied to your entire team. It's like, say all of us here were all on the same team, and Ty was like, messing around and stuff, and then he goes to the media and says this, and then he comes back on the podcast. All of us are going to be like, yo, what the fuck?
Okay, fine, but hold on. Oh, sorry, Ola, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, he said things at the press conference. He also apparently was was toxic in the locker room as well. I think they reported threw a ball at someone. That was when he just came back, and just acting, being disruly throughout. So I think he did kind of, because at the same time you understand, even if like in our day jobs or whatever, if someone wants to leave hands in their notice, that's fine, whatever. But don't make my life more difficult, just because you want to leave,
If you're talking about just about the press conference, I don't think that there's an issue there per se. Now, if you're telling me he's throwing basketballs at people, then fair enough. But when he says that the team doesn't have the right talent, I mean, did any of you think Houston was going to win the title this season? They weren't going to win.
They've got new players, Ty. They've got new players.
Did you put them as a favorite team to win?
No, definitely
no.
Well, then, so he's telling the truth. Like, wait,
no,
how old is James Harden?
Okay, Ty, how about this? The last James Harden is 31. Yeah, 31. I think it's 31. But like, Ty, look, Miami Heat was the same thing last year. No one put them to freaking get to the finals at all. And then they came out hard work. Jimmy Butler put in so much hard work. All of them put in so much hard work, and people gave them their praise. Just because people are not saying you are likely or destined to make your conference finals or whatever, doesn't mean you have to give up. There are a few teams that didn't give up.
But
you proved them wrong.
Didn't KD do that? Didn't LeBron do that? Didn't they all leave as well to win a title? You're making it seem like Miami Heat. Okay, fine, that happened, Jay. But how many times does the Miami Heat with that quality get to the final?
Okay, but Ty, I'll put it this way: if they didn't make these changes, right? Forget about Harden moving. Let's say they still had Westbrook and stuff. Then you can be like, okay, the argument is sound because these guys have played together. But you've got new players. You've got a healthy Boogie Cousins. You've got John Wall back.
Yeah, but did he want to be there though? Before these guys though, like when did he say he wanted to be there? Before these guys showed up?
Yeah, so he didn't want to be there. James Harden didn't want to be there. But like for him to come out to say about his own teammates, you don't do that. Like that's no matter like how bad your teammate is. Like that's why you guys are a team. Like you don't call out your teammates for being like bad or being like that's not going to fly. And that's why DeMarcus Cousins came out a few days ago to our social media. It was like you can't do that to your teammate. I think that's the other nature. Yes, so you don't want to be there, but like at least there's some things you could do to actually kind of make your teammate feel big. Yes, I don't want to be here, but you don't show up overweight. You don't at the last few games pretty much stop trying. As a teammate, you don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's also a personal insult as well to those who showed up to training camp, those who dragged themselves in there, did all the NBA protocols and everything. They were all there doing their hard work. Even the guys that come off the bench, and then you're overweight. You're doing all these antics, and then okay, sure, you put up numbers, but and then you go, there's no talent. There's no talent. Telling me Boogie Cousins is a talented player. You're telling me John Wall isn't a talented player.
No,
You're telling me
listen, I think when he says there's no
like-
talent, he's referring to the fact that this team is not good enough to win the title. So I don't think he's saying like everyone is garbage.
I get.
So the question is Brooklyn Nets good enough to win the title now?
Definitely, no, definitely.
Definitely, yeah.
No, I won't say definitely. No,
But
I wouldn't say
don't you-
definitely.
don't you
We have a major
think-
issue with Kyrie. There's a
Okay.
major issue now, Kyrie. Number one.
He said
That no
he
one is
said good
doing-
enough though. He said good enough. He didn't say they'll win. Good enough.
Don't you think they're bad defensively?
Yeah, they lost a lot in that trade.
You know what I mean? And they just added James Harden to the mix now. So they've not still addressed that defensive issue.
Obi, I'll put it a
Plus, they don't
different
even
way.
have-
I'll put it a different way. If you're
Plus,
bad
they don't even have.
defensively,
Wait, let me
if you-
finish. Let me land. Plus, they don't even have more centers. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any big. So kind of like they're a bit small at the moment. So I don't know. Like they can score points, but the problem is can they defend points? And as we know from Lakers, defense wins games. So I think you won though.
who can really shut down KD? Who can really shut down Kyrie? I'm just thinking like if you've got a player in KD who's hard
Tony,
to
wait, Tony, before you go on to that, I just wanted to say, like, before you move on from James Harden, for me, we can say, okay, he disrespected the team, all this stuff. But I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, if I was in your position, I probably would have done the same thing. I would have probably done it with a bit more finesse. But at some point, if I told the GM, yo, I need to get out of here, if I told him months ago and we're still playing and I'm feeling like this ain't gonna happen, this trade isn't gonna happen, and maybe, Houston is holding out for more, then they need me to do something a bit more radical, because if I'm going to strip clubs and I'm, getting banned from games and that's not working, I'm going to need to do something a bit extra.
I get you, but there's no way. I'm obviously I'm not an NBA player. I've handed in my notice before in work. I've kind of I've left football teams, left a party before. Something not fun, you want to get out, but you pick who you're angry with. You're angry with management, okay? Or maybe you're not even angry at all. You just want to get out. So you need to do it the right way. That's all. Like there's no because now he's left. Like Boogie has a bad taste in his mouth. John Wall has a bad taste in his mouth. And even the guys he's played with for like 5-6 years, like PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon. I mean, he's let those guys down. So, or maybe like obviously I don't know what's been said with everyone, but definitely Boogie and John Wall. So there's a way you're meant to carry yourself, and that's the only reason. I mean, he's entitled to leave, entitled to pay for whatever team he wants, entitled to ask for a trade. So, but I just don't think he went about it the right way. That's all.
Yeah, Toy, you have to think about like players' perception. So he's now playing for the Nets, and like those bench players and everything. Like, are they going to be able to trust him when he's calling people out at Houston and his bad behavior? Like, they're going to be suspect of him from the get-go. Like, it's not going to be easy to trust him. Plus, players move around, so there is that chance that one of these Houston players could end up on the Nets and play with Harden again, and they're going to be like, nah, like I don't feel his energy anymore. Like the way he changed before when he came back, like he's acting different now, but like I know how he is, like, and he just gives up when things are bad.
I don't. So you see, like, I'm looking at this from a football perspective. Yeah, how many football players kind of forced their way out? Like, I don't like. Okay, let's take Aubameyang for example. He forced his way out of Dortmund. I don't think any Arsenal player are thinking, oh, we can't trust this guy. Nah, you know he's doing it for a particular reason. Same thing with Dembele. Like, these players do this for that reason. And I think if you're a player, like if I'm in the net and I see what James Harden's doing, there's no way I'm gonna look at him in a negative way. I'm gonna think like, oh, you're a punk, you're this, you're that. I'm gonna play with him and I'm gonna ball out as well. I'm gonna enjoy the fact that he's on my team.
Well, no, you would if you're like, okay, Aubameyang has tried to leave and now he's overweight and he's calling the rest of his team shit, and you're like, well, you do something. If you think they don't have the talent and you think you're this all-star and great player, like, you bring them, you elevate them. Like, if you can't elevate these guys who are like former all-stars and players, like, you bring that core together if you want to be the leader. And I think that's the issue again, like when we do talk about the Nets.
But can we say the same thing about LeBron before he won a title? Can we say the same thing about KD as well?
No, you can't. Like,
No.
if someone's saying if you're interviewing someone for any job and
No,
you're
no,
like,
no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about.
it's
I'm not
different.
talking about the
KD
disrespect. I'm talking about elevating them to win a title. Because no, he said that they're like, if you're saying you need to try harder to help us win the title, and he's saying I tried, I can't do it anymore, so I want to leave. So I'm saying, but then we say the same thing about LeBron. When LeBron left, he didn't win the title. Like, why didn't we tell him to stay?
So no, the issue here is like with James Harden, right? Houston pretty much did whatever that she could try to win him a title. So he actually asked for Chris Paul, they got Chris Paul. He actually asked for Westbrook, that she could go West. Dwight Howard, they got Dwight Howard. To me, it's like the franchise pretty much did whatever that she could do, try to get him a title. If that were Chris Paul, my if that were Westbrook. So it's to me, he's the guy with the problem, And then for you to call your teammates as well, that's like a real issue.
If you truly love the city, you must recognize what Vic said, like everything they've sacrificed for you. So recognize that and be like, okay, I want to leave, yes, but I need to recognize that these guys need to get some sort of compensation back, Like if you really love the city, you would at least give them that. And anyways, another example is like, look at AD, how he handled the situation. He wasn't bad-mouthing his teammates. Most of his issue was with management. He wasn't going out to the media and saying, we have a lack of talent. Like he said he wanted to leave, yes, okay, grand. And then everything else was more or less directed towards management. He wasn't, screaming at his teammates and stuff. Like you couldn't see, even on the court, you can see James Harden sometimes arguing with the guy, So there's different ways. There was a better way, much better way he could have handled the situation.
Yeah, there is. I will say, watching that press conference, he didn't look too comfortable. He didn't look like he really knew what he was saying. Like he felt like he was kind of just thinking on the spot and just going through. So
I think he knew because at the end.
No, if you look at the way I think he would have said it with a bit more finesse. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if you watch the press conference and you see the way he's talking, the way he's fumbling words around, he's just thinking straight off his mind. Like he's not actually using finesse. If he had time to, let's say, go somewhere, chill off, and write what he wants to say, he ain't disrespecting them like that. He ain't saying it like that bad. Like he's saying the team isn't good enough, but he ain't really pointing fingers like that.
Dude, he had a lot of time to adjust whatever he wanted to say. Look, don't go to the strip club, stay at home and write your essay if you want to. Look, he just was pissed off and he just let his emotions speak straight up. That was it.
But to Vic's point about how he said that how they did everything for him. Well, it didn't work. So like I don't think just because they did everything for you, you then have to force yourself.
They gave him the pieces. You asked for the pieces. Like you're like, oh yeah, no, I want to play with this guy. I want to play with this guy. We'll get a championship. You give up X, Y, and Z. So they're giving up a lot to bring in some of these players.
But it doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your career when it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's sacrificed his career, but he's put himself in a very difficult situation. Like even age-wise, like that they have to win in the next year or two a championship.
And I think that's the main thing right there. He has to look himself in the mirror and say, okay, you know what? Like for my legacy, I need to be able to look at myself when I'm 35, 38 and say, what did I win? And if the answer is you won nothing, then yeah, bounce out, go somewhere else.
He has to kind of hold himself accountable for his kind of giving up on court when they have been in bad situations in playoffs before, because like when you're looking to win a championship, you can't do that. So going forward, like hopefully like maybe KD or Kyrie can keep him in check and being like, come on, pick your head up, like we're behind. But it's down to his personal responsibility as well. I don't know if he kind of looked at himself.
Tony, you mentioned a while ago you can't win a title without having 3 All-Stars. You said 2 All-Stars, 3, 2.
You can't win without 2. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, 2 All-Stars.
How many All-Stars did
I tried to think of the last time a team won with only one or none, and I couldn't think of one. Maybe it's probably far back, maybe further back, but I can't think of one.
Yeah, I mean the last one I can think of is the Big Dirk. That's the only guy that I think was the only like one All-Star. But that's the conversation we're having before about Brooklyn. Like, I mean, I hear what we're saying about defense and all that, but like there's not going to be any sympathy for them. Like the 3 of them need to get it done. Simple as that. And
I think
no excuses. Like
there's more pressure this year on the Nets than there was on the Clippers last year. Clippers, it was just Paul George and Kawhi. Now it's Kyrie, KD, and Harden. You have to have a lot more pressure on you. You just have to bring that chip home.
Is though, like, would Kyrie be okay being the third option? Because obviously, like, KD's better than Kyrie, James Harden's better than Kyrie. So would he be okay being the third option?
No way. There's no way Kyrie will be happy being a third option. He has proven he wants to be the number one. Like in any team, like post obviously Cavaliers, he's always been pushing himself forward as the leader, as the best, as There is no way I see him sitting down and being like, I'm okay playing third row. No bloody way. No way I can see that happening. Not in his nature to sit back.
Can he actually be trusted?
I want to say one thing about that. I don't want to, obviously right now it's completely negative, everything he's done, but I really want to see what he says when he addresses the media, because obviously he has to when he comes back. I want to see what he says exactly. Has anyone actually seen the video? Is the video released to the public or like?
Yeah, it's on Twitter. It's floating around a few places. I can send it on.
Yeah, so is it just tell me, in the video, does it look like he's within the NBA limit of 15 people together in one place?
He's not like it's like everyone's maskless. It's a party, like there's more than 15 people there. So
okay, that's wrong then. Yeah,
And it has to be a
completely
certain
wrong.
group of people
Yeah.
as well, have to be like within your family limit. And they did vote on new regulations during the week, and the Players Association agreed on them. So
Was he like
yeah, and obviously, at least I don't want to like put any judgment. It's like honestly, like we're sitting here, we don't know what's going on with Kyrie. So that's number one. But with the question on like, can you trust him? Well, it was number one in Cleveland initially. He needed LeBron to come back to kind of lead the team. But as a Celtics fan, I really wanted Kyrie to be our guy and be our leader. He had two great young players under him, and it just for one reason or another it never happened. And then he went to Brooklyn, and he hasn't been able to get it done. So he's been number one and failed. He's been number two and succeeded. So maybe he's gonna be okay being number three or number two. It's between 2 and 3. I'm not sure he's a clear number 3.
He was number 2 to the number 1. That's a bit different. Does he want to be number 2 to the number 3 in the league? Well, 5, depending on your perspective and all that. But that's the thing. So when you got the number 1 player in the league on your team, it's almost kind of like you have to shut up and know your place. Yeah. But then when the rest of your teammates, none of them are number 1, it's kind of like you have an argument like, yeah, well, I actually still think I'm better than you. Obviously, I think they both have to agree KD is higher rated.
I mean, if he couldn't accept that LeBron was better than him until today, he still doesn't think LeBron is, then I don't see why he's gonna take that from KD.
No, I don't see a problem between him and KD. I actually think both of them will be fine. It's when you add in James Harden now, there has to be some sacrifice given from all of them. I can see KD willing, like KD in every team he's been on, he passes the ball. You don't see KD hugging the ball, which is what I like about him. So far, Kyrie was distributing the ball as well. There was only the 2 of them to contend, but we all knew Kyrie was going to be the ball handler majority. That was fine. Now adding James Harden, who likes to do his whole step backs and all this kind of thing, bring up the ball, and as soon as he crosses that halfway line and gets close to the 3-point line, he's a threat. Kyrie likes to do that as well, So now you have a problem. Are you going to have Kyrie, James, and KD all starting? Obviously, you have to. So who's going to bring up the ball? And when they bring up the ball, if it's James Harden, he's probably going to do his whole step back 3, try and get to the line, that kind of thing. Kyrie's just going to be sitting on the side, hoping he gets a pass for a 3-pointer. KD's free, pass him the ball, he'll score. It's difficult to see how they're going to manage all this.
I think if I was Steve Nash, I would be focusing on KD and James Harden. Just focus on that chemistry, because Kyrie is very good, but you just don't know what you're going to get from him at any given day. So if I was Steve Nash, just focus on that chemistry between Harden and KD. That's
if you neglect Kyrie, I get what you're coming from, Obi, but if you neglect Kyrie, I'm afraid of what he might freaking, he'll probably revert back to himself and start saying and doing stupid shit. That's what
stupid shit.
Huh? If he has to go, he has to go. But for somebody that is being paid over 100 million, and not showing and deciding not to show for games because of whatever reason, I think that's very, very unprofessional. So, as a coach,
James Harden was unprofessional as well. So you've got 2 people who have been unprofessional.
Yeah, but James Harden shows up. James Harden shows up in games. He might have wherever he has issues, but he will still show up in the game because he likes to play basketball. But with Kyrie, you're not sure.
It seems one of them is unpredictable as well.
Yeah, you're not sure whether he has something more, that's more important than basketball. Because Kyrie is very deep, he thinks about a lot of things.
Who do you think will be seen as the leader on the team now?
Well, KD is very humble. So he's not really buying into that whole leadership or I want to be this. So in that sense, probably James Harden might be that guy with the ball. And
don't know if
what kind of leadership you talking about though?
I don't know.
On the court or off the court?
No, off the court, you don't necessarily need a leader. If you all can talk and calm each other down, and that's fine. Off the court, you can literally have a leader who's your coach. On the court,
but what I mean is
focusing
when KD was in the Warriors, was he the leader?
No, KD has never.
I don't think he needs to be the leader on the court.
He doesn't need to be either. He contributes. He does his due diligence. I don't think he even wants to be seen as that. I don't think he wants to be.
KD just wants to score. That's what he wants.
I feel like we give Kyrie a pass. What has he actually done? Okay, fine, yeah. Man hit the shot. When he was in Cleveland by himself, man didn't make the playoffs. James came in, got to the playoffs, won championship. The guy moves, goes to Boston. What did he do in Boston? Nothing. And now this nonsense. What has he actually done in the league except for that shot?
Kyrie, his ball handling skills is second to none.
The things are Kyrie can actually pass. Can defend. So like, okay, fine, like he's like tough shots, but like for this guy to be doing all of this, like going on leave without telling his coach, telling nobody, like we should stop. We need to stop giving this guy a pass. Like, what has he actually done?
From the club perspective, he's basically saying like he's not worth it.
Exactly,
correct?
exactly,
Yeah.
pretty
He
much.
should just retire though. If there's something, if there's something that's more important to him than basketball, he should just let the game just. You know what I mean? If he doesn't want to play, like he should just retire.
That's way too much money, man.
No, Ty. So
Nah,
it is
he won't.
reported that he could give up. He might not come back.
Yeah, okay, so
Who's
he might
reporting
not
that?
come back yet, but okay, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about his history. I don't know the way he's
So
thinking. Do you
it's
not
to do
think
with,
that
like,
this?
last year when the NBA decided to go into the bubble, he was one of the players who didn't want to go into the bubble and had contacted other players to put talks in with them for setting up a new basketball association.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
he is a bit of a
so-
wild card.
Yeah, it's very deep though. It's too deep.
He's
But what
unpredictable.
I'm saying is like, do you think, Steven, that this is the way he's acting now, and in a month's time or 2 months or whatever, a few weeks, he's just gonna snap back into like being his normal self? Like he just seems a bit erratic, or are you saying that
No,
this
this
is
this
the way
is his
he is?
normal self.
Oh, okay.
Well, I won't say this is normal, Clay, because
No, but
he
like
he hasn't missed games on purpose before.
But just this erratic behavior, people are like, yeah, Kyrie, like he's gonna fuck up something at some point and just speak shit about somebody or just come out with random fucking arguments, and you're like, you're making no sense. Like,
And that to me doesn't show any form of leadership qualities, you know. And this is why I don't see him being a leader in Brooklyn Nets. I definitely will see somebody like even Harden too. He was not really showing, but I mean, just recently he didn't really show too much of leadership skills by taking shots at his players. But previous seasons, he was that guy like in Houston. So I just think he might take that baton in the net and be that leader. But I think with Kyrie though, I think what he needs is, and that's why he worked with LeBron, because he just needs somebody like LeBron to just calm him down and just put him in place. I think he's missed that ever since he left Cavaliers under LeBron's wings, and thought he could be a leader himself, and it's just not working out at the moment.
So do you think like KD or James Harden might be able to do that for him, what LeBron did for him?
KD is not doing that for him because he's not showing up for games. And
remember what
Harden-
KD said? I fully back up Kyrie. He said in an interview when obviously Kyrie was out for personal reasons at the start, he was like, well, I fully support him, like fully back him up. I don't know if Kyrie told him that, I'm going to be having a birthday celebration or whatever, if he told him that aspect, because I feel like, okay, if he didn't know this was all happening and the video came out, then he's probably going to be like, I can't trust this guy. I thought he was out for just some
I thought
downtime.
he formed all his team players, but he didn't inform his manager.
No, he
Like,
informed them that, look, I'm going to be out, basically. But like, and the problem is that particular video. When Kyrie comes back, he can go to the media and be like, look, I went out initially because I wasn't whatever it could have been mentally. And then I don't know if he was already staying in the vicinity and then his sister's birthday happened and he was like, look, I'll show some love, I'll show up or whatever. I don't know. That's why I'm saying we really need to see what he says when he comes back, if he comes back. I'm so pissed off because you've left me on my own to try and carry this. It's a lot of hard work for me. It's a lot of minutes I have to now, play full throttle. So it's difficult.
So if I come from Kyrie, kind of, and you've touched on it there, the bubble, right? You didn't want to go into the bubble. And if you guys put yourselves in the shoes of a young 20, 23, 24-year-old, got all this money, you got all this land, your mom's or your family's there, your fiance, your sister, and you've been in the bubble since May? You have a month off maybe. Obviously not every team went deep in the playoffs. Is that something you guys think you can handle? Like someone like Adam Silver telling you can't attend whether it's your sister's wedding or your sister's birthday or your mom, or you can't can't go home for Thanksgiving, or what you can do at Christmas and what you can't do? Because I think that might be what Kyrie has a problem with. How would you guys?
All right, paid over 100 million. Show up and play that basketball and dribble. There is no excuse in the world that you that actually like gives you that green light to do that. There is no excuse. Like think about all the fans out there that are paying like sports view, like to watch all these players play. And some of these fans that might even like Kyrie, so they're not been seeing him like for over a week now. So that's going to affect the TV rights and the or the basketball or his basketball team view rights and all that. So you have to take all that into perspective. He does not have any right to do what when he's paid a certain amount and he signed the contract, and his duty is to play basketball and show up during games, especially when you're fully healthy. So there's no excuse of like, oh, my family is doing this, my family is doing that. Oh, that's wrong, man.
He's being a hypocrite because he's been outspoken about like health and safety protocols. He was in the bubble, not being enough, they're not doing enough, and then to criticize the league who are doing as much as they can to keep players safe, staff safe, and then turn around and being photographed at this party with a lot of people at it, nobody wearing masks, being like, here, we're not meant to be in massive gatherings games with people outside our league, outside our family bubbles. You can't play both sides. Like, you can't say one thing and then just do the other. Like, people are going to notice when you're such a star of a team. Like, these little discrepancies or big discrepancies.
I get that. I was pretty much just focusing on the fact there's a mental issue.
Oh yeah, like that did come up that he was having like mental health days or whatever. But that's probably down to him and the team. But it seemed like the team knew nothing about it. Like, that he just wasn't there. Steve Nash seemed a bit kind of clueless about it in interviews, which doesn't look good. Like, you need to be open and honest with your coach and the people you work for who are paying your salary, and then you show up and you're at parties.
Do you
and
think the club is looking at it like?
Go ahead.
Do you think the club is looking at it like we got James now, so at some point if this guy just giving us stress, like, we don't even mind trading him, getting rid of him. Like, if we were favorites or we were a good team to win a title with KD and him, if we get rid of him, which we do have now, do you think that's the way that they're actually thinking that, okay, fine, you know what, he's giving us too much stress, let's just bounce him out?
Now they have to hope that he plays, because if he's not returning anytime soon, nobody will trade for him. Like, no team will accept a trade. Like, it just won't happen. They're like, yeah, you're trying to give us a guy who doesn't even play for you guys, hasn't shown up, you don't know where he is. It's a whole question mark story. Everyone would be like, we're not giving you anything for him. So you'd want him to come back and try and win with the players you got, because other teams are probably looking at this situation completely baffled unless he returns and it's explained and everyone's like, okay, that makes sense, but I can't really see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know, because I think somebody said that he's in a better situation because he actually goes to games and plays, unlike James, who James being whatever he's been. But to me, I'm looking at it this way: James just did that because he wanted to leave. With this other guy, I have no idea what's going to spark him to do something. He's just very erratic. And as a club, if I'm looking at James and thinking, okay, he's just doing it because he wants to leave, he's going to come to my team, he's going to ball out. But with this other dude, I have no idea what to expect.
And that's why, as a manager, you should be focusing on James and KD, just and for the season. I think with Kyrie though, he definitely needs a mentor, like a leader. He needs somebody to kind of like be at the same wavelength, and just to give him that guidance or some sort of confidence or so. Because you're right though. I mean, it does have like problems, So I remember him saying the world was flat, which was a bit funny. So the guy is a deep, he has some crazy thoughts in his mind that might sound silly to people, but he really feels and believes in that. So yeah, I don't know. I just think he needs some form of like a LeBron kind of like mentor or something, like a leader or something.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
Yeah, because this stuff never happened in Cleveland. He never had this kind of issues when he was in Cleveland. Just since he's come out of Cleveland, now all these things are popping up.
When you get a championship, man, it changes you. You feel on top of the world.
No, but this is different. Like, he clearly, like, people can see that there is, like, obviously, even if he says it, he's having mental health days, that maybe he has issues with his mental health. So it could be a whole new situation of just, this player is really struggling. Like, yeah, we can criticize him, but he might come out and be like, yeah, he's just mental health wise is just gone, and he might need like help from doctors or friends and people to really ground him, and that's why he was out at this party with family and everything. He just doesn't know what's going on with his head. So it's hard to kind of criticize that when he does say his mental health isn't there. So it's not just, oh, I've got big headed because I'm a champion. It's just maybe he doesn't know what's what. Like, he's very easily led on by certain ideas and certain thought, just kind of keep him off track.
Well, maybe now, but back when, after James had gone and all this kind of stuff, when he had gone, he started to act like he was number one. He's like, I can take a team myself. Went to the Celtics, always speaking. Like, I'm just saying initially. He didn't really have mental health issues back then. No one was really saying this guy's mentally unstable. We were just kind of like, what the fuck are you saying? He was still balling like crazy. Now that he's the one that came forward and said mental days, that's when everyone's like, okay, if you're acknowledging it. So now, yes. Back then.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. That these players, they've been playing basketball a certain way for the last 20 years or however long they've been playing, and maybe the way they cope, their coping is they see their family every day off. Or we all saw Paul George in the bubble as well, where he struggled and he said the bubble was getting some. I know they're getting paid hundreds of millions, but they're still human, Like, some guys need this job to perform. They need the strip club on Thursday night. Some guys need to go.
But they just need their actual girlfriend.
No, but to them, it's not up to Adam Silver to tell you. We all. I know what you said, Obi. That look, like, the fans are out there struggling, but at the end of the day, no one forces us to go into the office and sleep in this hotel or sleep in the office. So I do kind of understand, if that's what you need, if you can't function with just playing the game of basketball and going back to your apartments and going back to training and you can't do anything else, you can't see your family, you can't. I can't put myself.
Obi, Ola, how many days was the bubble?
It was over 100 days.
It was 90 over 100, was it?
Final.
Yeah,
So we're talking 3 months.
you're talking
3
a
months
third of the year, like ish.
Yeah, I mean, 3 months. If I'm earning that much money, 3 months, and I know I'm going to come back to my family.
Exactly.
3 months of isolation.
Okay, at the
It's
start,
not easy. Like,
they didn't know they were beating in. Plus, you could be like, I mean, okay, this is a stupid way to look at it, but those players that
Tony, before you say something, I will say this year, people have, ever since COVID started, people with mental health issues have kind of come out and say, yeah, it's messing them up. So, I mean, bear this in mind, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you can still kill yourself. You can still get depressed. You can still do crazy things.
I get that, but here's what I'm saying, right? No one knew back then when this whole COVID situation will get better or stop and all this kind of stuff. No one knew. So therefore, you're still employed. So at the end of the day, you're still going to have to go to your job some way, some form. Now, most companies out there, financial districts and all this kind of stuff, they set up working from home, which is great. People work from actual home. Now, some people were in different countries, lockdowns, they couldn't travel to go back to their own family and stuff like that. But if they tell you it's only for a certain amount of time, and then after that, obviously you have a few months, 2-3 months with your family, and then Adam Silver was still figuring out how to do this particular season. I mean, I wouldn't like it, but at the same time, I'd be like, well, I still need paid. I don't know if they were doing some sort of like COVID pay for these guys in the NBA, like, oh, you're still going to get your salary.
Just to add to your point, the family actually came over to visit the players at some of the stages. Yeah.
Obi, that's the thing. At the start, they didn't say that would be possible. It was something that was developed during the bubble. Like, because obviously the bubble kickstarted and they were like, okay, it's actually working. So let's see what we can do. So when they were going in, they didn't know that was a possibility. You know what I mean?
I don't think you can say it's not an issue that like, oh, it was only 3 months and you got to see your family after. Like, since COVID started, let's just say a year ago, like everyone struggled. Some people more than others, even if they still seeing people now and again, like their daily routines are completely different, and that affects some people like in awful ways. Like, we've seen it, and I'm sure some of you guys know, like maybe people who've passed away because they struggle with mental health, or you've seen it online. Like, it's tough no matter how much money you've got or friends around. Like, these people aren't doing the things they usually do that are maybe coping mechanisms. Maybe they don't realize that they're coping by going out to dinner after a game and having a nice bottle of wine, but when it's taken away, it's kind of like, oh, they're left with their own thoughts. So like, it doesn't really matter about the paycheck. Like, so like if it is a mental health issue, like I suppose everyone in the league is going to have to support Kyrie. Like,
to piggyback off what Ola and Steven said, same thing basically, because back then, to say you have mental health issues, like you probably get laughed at. Like, everyone says, cop on, get over yourself. But fast forward to 2020, and also with the whole COVID situation, and everyone just be more conscious of people's problems. And maybe he felt, yeah, I can say it now, because like when he's like 4 years ago, could he say I have mental health issues? I'm taking a break. Maybe a lot of people would say, you're a joker, get out of here. But now, like, we're a bit more sensitive to it. And like I said, I don't know if he's taking a piss or if he's serious or whatever it may be. But as soon as he says it, then we listen, and then we analyze later on. Like, it doesn't look good that he's obviously at a party, but once again, says it's his sister's birthday. He was just there showing support or whatever. We just don't know. So as you said, Tony, when he comes back, based on what he says, then we'll have a better idea.
See what happens when he comes back. It's never boring with Kyrie anyway.
True that.
I hope he does come back and he's 100% ready, because I think it's going to be an interesting season if he's 100% ready to go. I'm liking that the look of the NBA structure now with him and with Harden on the team.
Tony, just come back to your point on, has any team won the NBA without, was it being in the
without 2 All-Stars
in the first team? Yeah,
doesn't matter which team, 2 All-Stars.
Okay, so if they were not on the first team, does that count?
Yeah, that still counts. No, well, if first team, second team, it doesn't matter. If
you might have a veteran player.
If they're on the second team, so they're not on the first team, basically.
That would still count, because you're still getting minutes.
Yeah, but they're not like proper all-star. Do you know what I mean? Although they were called, but they're not in the first team. Does that count?
That doesn't count. No, you're still an all-star. If you're listed as an all-star, that my point is, are you listed as an all-star? I don't care where you are.
You don't have to be like a KD. So you don't have to be like a KD.
No, you could be a Kemba Walker or like you know what I mean.
I leave Kemba out of this. Like, why?
I'm not. I wasn't taking shots. I wasn't taking shots. Sorry.
Okay.
I wasn't taking.
Even
shots.
Somebody less than Kemba Walker too, but he just still made it to the NBA just by. Are you saying that there's no team that have won those kind of players?
I'm just saying I can't think of one where 2 All-Stars.
I think the issue with that, Tony, is the All-Stars get announced before the end of the season. So if you started the season with no All-Stars and go on to win a championship, that means you're playing well. So there's a good chance you're going to be called All-Stars before the season's over, because the All-Star game's usually in like February, March.
Yeah, but that means they recognize your effort for that entire season was All-Star performance.
Yeah, but then you're an All-Star. So then like not winning a team.
Yeah.
Like,
because I'm just looking at the Detroit Pistons, 1989, 1990, 2004. They won it without no
further back. That's what I was. Yeah, but that's what I was thinking. Like, it's be further back if if there was such an example, but currently,
Or even
current
Mavericks though in
meta
2011,
is
the Dallas
who do they
Mavericks in
have?
2000, they didn't have any All-Star first team
Oh, they
players.
had Dirk and
Listen,
But it wasn't an
listen,
All-Star
Terry,
first team.
but like those guys weren't all stars though.
10 years ago.
It's possible, man. And
Well,
that was
it was a
against
long time
LeBron
ago,
and the
though.
Heat.
That was a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah.
But in general, then it seems like the general perception is 2 All-Stars, contender, likelihood to win.
Yeah, basically, I just think if you move the basketball well as a team and take good shots or, just move the ball a lot, I think you might have a chance. It doesn't matter whether you're an all-star or, you know what I mean? That's what I think.
Yeah, here's a question for you on I got 2 questions, actually. I'll start with a simple one. So let's assume Kyrie doesn't come back for the next few games, hypothetically 6 games. Who do you guys think will be the starting 5 for Brooklyn?
KD, Harden, the
Joe
big guy.
Harris.
What's his name again?
DeAndre Jordan. So that's your center.
Yeah, Joe Harris is going to play as well. And without Kyrie, you're looking at a point guard. So maybe Shamet.
Dinwiddie?
The 3-point line.
Wait, Dinwiddie's injured.
Yeah, he tore his
like a year.
ACL.
Oh,
Yeah, he's not going to play. Like, I think he might be back for end of season playoffs, but it's an ACL injury, so probably not.
And then on the bench, he's got some okay pieces.
You're looking
I
at
guess.
probably
Green.
maybe Shamet starting at point guard.
Yeah, Landry Shamet is very good, and Jeff Green. Yeah.
But wait, hang on. You're gonna take Shamet as the starting point guard?
Well, if Kyrie's not there,
No, you take
I think
Harden. as
James
the
Harden
starting
might actually fill in. Yeah, I think Harden's gonna fill in the point guard role.
when you're talking about the lineup, like, yeah, he's going to play point guard, but he's not going to handle the ball. He's not going to be like, he's going to be like the Lakers with LeBron. Harden's going to carry the ball up, not as point guard, but he's basically point guard. And you're going to have somebody else, a smaller player on the court as well.
How do you think Adam would actually adjust to this situation? Because obviously, like over the past few years in Houston, he's been the main ball handler, like he's been the main scorer. So now Man's got KD and Kyrie. So what kind of changes do you think he would have to make?
But the big change is like he plays so much isolation basketball. Like, are they going to let him play isolation basketball, or will they move the ball around? I think that's going to be the hardest thing to adapt for him. Like,
I think they might try to do it to allow him to do ISO, but they might be like, okay, look, there's another player that likes to do ISO from time to time, which is KD. Given if you give it to him in certain spots, he will do an ISO. So it might be like, James Harden, bring up the ball. If you feeling like doing an ISO, depending on who's defending you, if you feel like you can take him. If not, dish it out. You've got let's say Shamet, dish it out to Shamet or dish it out to KD, right? They obviously start running plays where KD is coming off a screen or whatever to take a shot, or give it to him inside, you take a jump shot, which you can't really stop. That's the way I see it. And then obviously you've got DeAndre Jordan setting up picks.
The issue for them is going to be their bench. I think like they've weakened. Like they're not they don't have a good depth to the team anymore after the trade.
Do they have another center to come on board DeAndre when he gets taken off for rest?
Jeff Green.
No.
He's a forward. All forward.
That's what I'm saying.
They don't really have
They've really gone small as a team.
They lost Jared Allen, which was a big loss, and like then they've lost LeVert off the bench, and then Spencer Dinwiddie is just injured. So like they have the same issue at center that the Lakers currently have. Like they both will look to pick up a center before the playoffs come around.
I wonder who they'll be to pick, man. That's gonna be a good look.
I got a good question for you guys. When an all-star player goes to another team with an all-star player, is the onus on the coming all-star player to adapt and not let's say, for example, if they both play the same style, is the onus on him to adapt to that team? So if he likes the ball, he has to like reduce that kind of time, or is it a case of, okay, fine, we both have to kind of make this work? Like who's one who's going to sacrifice the most?
You don't change an all-star's game style entirely, but you try to adapt. So it's kind of like if they're both similar, you got to say to both of them, look, you have to sacrifice, you got to sacrifice, because combined it'll be stronger than if you just rely on only one person to play his style.
It also gives you options. Like for Steve Nash, you can have Kyrie and KD sitting, and there's Harden out there playing ISO ball, like with bench players, and then you can move players in and out. You have to have different tactics against different teams and what works and doesn't work. So it's another option. And plus, you've lost a few players after this trade, so you're going to have to play a new style of ball anyway.
Yeah, I have a theory on this one. I think if you have that situation, the first thing you have to do, and it's probably in basketball, it's more about the players than the coach. I think they need to decide who's better, who's number one and who's number two. Because the best example I can think of is when LeBron's first season in Miami, when LeBron was thinking, well, it's me and Wade, and I think that's why they dropped that series to Dallas, in that they were both was it Dallas? I think it was Dallas. Yeah, they dropped it. Where they were both trying to like look after each other. Where I'll give you the ball, no, you take the ball. Someone needs to own it, and the better player needs to step up and say, this is how it's gonna be. So I think in that case, you decide, and whether it's going after each other in practice, but then there needs to be one big dog. There needs to be the one alpha male who gets the shots at the end of the game, and then
if you're going for shots at the end of the game, I'm picking James Harden.
I'm picking KD.
I'll pick KD.
Okay, if we're talking 3-pointers, I'm going for James Harden because people will be afraid to try and defend him because of a foul. If you're going for if you just need a 2 or whatever, by all means give that Kevin Durant. No one's stopping that pull-up jump shot. Kyrie, well, if he's on the pitch,
no.
I'll give it to KD. James Harden is all about the step back, but with KD, he has that length, they has that body length. So when he's jumping for that shot, no way you can block that, because he's a 7-footer taking a 3-pointer.
I know, but say it's the last shot and you have to bring up the ball from your end. Do you tell KD to bring it up, or do you tell KD to get set up while someone else delivers the ball to him on a pick and roll or something?
Yeah, but
how are you not picking KD there? How is that even possible?
To me, when James Harden is shooting the ball, you can see defenders are so close to him. Sometimes he just most of his threes look like they're not contested because everyone's just afraid of a foul.
But Tony, you look at the playoffs for Houston over the past few years, and when they've been eliminated, they got eliminated in games where they shot 53s and they just couldn't hit any.
Oh, don't get me wrong. If he's been playing that game during the game and he's not on form, please obviously don't give him the ball. I'm assuming he's on form and he's scoring 40 points or 50 or whatever it is. Say he's been shooting and his shots have been going in throughout the game. Yes, he's on form. I'll give it to him. If he's not on form, then yeah, give it to KD. KD has closed games for Golden State, so I know what he's capable of.
It's a good option for them because KD can drive to the basket. He can shoot. He doesn't need a jump back or just because of his height. That if you have the three of those players in the end of the game, who's defending them? It's going to be whoever's open, whoever can get open quickest and get the cleanest shot. I think it's rather than being KD, you shoot no matter what. It's been nah, get it to whoever is open, whoever has a clean look at the basket.
And I'm sure they'll be doing these runs during training too. They'll be doing all these kind of runs, close games. Who's going to make that shot?
Do you expect James to do better with this team than Houston, or was it a case that Houston was built around him, so that was his play style? But now it's a little bit complicated. There's too many all-stars, so you don't expect him to get as much point.
No, it's hard to say. It's how Steve Nash is going to what style he's going to develop. Is he all the points we mentioned? Are you going to have them sacrificing, or as Clay said, are you going to have James Harden on and the other two resting, so James Harden is able to play his style more effectively, by doing a lot more of his threes and driving to the basket without having to sacrifice to KD and stuff. He might have 2 or 3 styles. He might have a style that involves Kyrie and James, or he might have a style that involves James and KD, and then the other person is taking a bit of a rest. I don't know. It's all down to Steve Nash how he wants to push this.
I think you should just look at OKC old tapes and look at how Harden was playing with KD.
Harden wasn't he coming off
the bench?
He wasn't
the bench. He was coming off the bench.
He was coming off the bench. Yeah. Back then he wasn't the James Harden we know now, so it's hard. You can't really look back. Those tapes are outdated, if you ask me, for play style. It's quite outdated, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's difficult. We just have to wait and see for the first at least 3 to 4 games.
But for Ty, your question of his stats aren't going to be the same. He's not going to be able to average. Well, I expect he won't be able to average 40 points a game with him, KD, and Kyrie. They're going to spread those points out a bit more. I doubt they're all going to average in the 30s.
Average drop maybe across the board.
Yeah, like LeBron and AD playing together, they kind of score the same amount of points. But if one of them was by themselves, you expect them to kind of score more and lead the team.
And obviously, Harden clearly knows this, so that just kind of shows how serious he was about probably trying to get this ring before he retires. Because Tony, me and you talked before about Westbrook and how he's in a situation now where he's probably not gonna get a ring. And I asked you, is Westbrook willing to sacrifice his game plan, his enjoyment of basketball, of being that number one, to actually win the ring? And we kind of went back and forth about it, and then became.
He already sacrificed
he did,
when he came to Houston. Westbrook.
Let's not forget though.
He'll always play with such fierocity. He's not going to change that aspect about him, and that's why people like him. If he has to change that attacking mentality, I don't know if you're gonna really like the Westbrook that emerges from that.
But he gets you a ring.
Yeah, but it's kind of okay. It's kind of like this. If James Harden's averaging 40 points and not winning a ring, if you tell him, yo, we need you to average 20 points or just under that, and we can get you a ring, do you think he's still gonna love playing basketball? That means he shoots 3 or 4 shots or whatever, and a few rebounds, a few layups, and he's mainly on the bench.
Yeah, I mean, if we're thinking, hypothetically, then I think you do it once and then you go somewhere else. As long as you have that in your locker, I got a ring, then you can say, okay, screw this, I'm gonna go play basketball now. You know what I mean?
Okay, let me tell you then. if he does that and let's say he reaches the finals but he doesn't win, so he didn't do it, so he's dropped his average. They didn't win, but he got to the finals, right? Next year, do you think he'll be happy to do that again because he got him that far?
Well, were you ever in the finals before? If the answer is no, then you do it again. You try again. Except this time you try harder. You work something out, because if you change your game plan and you get to the finals, then I don't know why you'd go back to the old way that didn't get you to the final.
It's like it's a long journey to the finals, so it's kind of like you're playing but you're not enjoying the game.
Yeah, no, I get you. I
You
understand
step
that.
on the court
I'm just
and you
saying,
don't
like, for one season
you
you
don't
only
get
do it.
that buzz. You don't get that buzz. There's only so long you can do that for that you might just want to go back, and because then it just turns into a typical job. I just want to get this done and get home. The fun is gone.
Yeah, fair enough.
I agree. Like, yeah, obviously take the sacrifice initially, but how long you're willing to keep that sacrifice is a different issue for each player. So, I mean, people tune in to watch Westbrook even though he hasn't won a ring because of how he plays. It's so entertaining. So if you remove that, yeah, you're still watching, but you might be like, what's going on here? If he then wins the ring, you might be like, okay, yeah, cool, but please come back to the way you were before.
So are the Nets still like favorites to come out of the East now?
I think the 76ers are the best.
I think so.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
about to
yeah,
say
definitely.
don't discount them.
Because Harden
You know.
really wanted to go to the Sixers, but it didn't work out. The GM wanted him to go to Nets. So I think Sixers is there. The Bucks and
Boston?
Boston, yeah, they're good. They're in there. They're in there too. They're always going to be there. But what to watch out is the Sixers though, definitely, and the Bucks.
Who's not number one now in the East?
Celtics.
Then Bucks, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then 76ers.
It's Celtics, Bucks, 76ers, but the Celtics have played two less games
Oh yeah, 2 less games. Yeah.
than each team, because it's 8-4 from the Sixers and Celtics are 7-3.
Why the guys are picking Philadelphia? Just because if I rank Philadelphia's big three, even if they have 3, I think they have 2. So I'm surprised you're picking them. So I mean, for me, it's Brooklyn number 1. It's fall to my Celtics, but it's Brooklyn all the way. Like.
To me, like, it comes down to like who from the Nets can actually stop like maybe Joel Embiid. Nobody can stop Joel Embiid. Like, it's just gonna kill him.
And Dwight.
Dwight Howard. So that's why I asked my question before. Like, defensively, what can Brooklyn actually do? Like, Joe Harris doesn't play defense. James Harden doesn't play defense. So like, what will they do defensively with like someone like Joel Embiid?
Yeah, and he's healthy, man. He's healthy for this long so far. So like, it's tough. It's tough. Ben's doing well as well. I mean, they've got good pieces anyway. Okay, let me just ask them. This was my other question. I forgot. I had 2 questions before. I've asked the first one. Would you guys still pick Nets to be favorites if Kyrie's not in the picture?
Yes. You got KD there, man.
So 2 yeses, 2 no. So everyone who said yes is pretty much saying James Harden and KD are just that good that both of them alone is enough.
100%.
So you think those
I
two
mean,
alone
they were always favorites though.
to defeat you think those two are enough to defeat the 76ers as they are right now?
Man, the Celtics have been beating the 76ers last 3-4 years. Like 76ers haven't done anything. Why are we showing them love?
No, but
76ers, you gotta put respect on what they brought in. Like, they're deeper. You have Seth Curry, you have Danny Green, and then Dwight Howard. So they've added like a lot.
Don't
like,
forget they went seven for one. What was it? 7 for 1. How many wins in a row was that?
Well,
they're not first anymore, but like you said, Celtics are what 2 games behind, so they're on top now, but they haven't played as many games.
Look, there's no way I'm putting Joel Embiid over Kevin Durant. It's not gonna happen. Embiid is a great player, but Kevin Durant is maybe one of the best scorers that game I've ever seen. So like I'm giving.
It's all good to score and everything. Are you not gonna address the defensive issue they have?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I would actually stop Joel Embiid. Like, DeAndre Jordan can't stop Joel Embiid. So like,
who's gonna stop?
He can't stop both Joel Embiid and Dwight. It's a bit too much for one person.
Guys, don't forget Joel Embiid got 0 points against Raptors, so somebody definitely stopped him on that night.
may allow him, man.
My brother. Thank you, my brother.
So let's just calm down here with Joel Embiid.
Thank you so much for that. That was great.
That was last season. Come on, man, guys.
That was what? That was current season, my friend. You're telling me that's last season. This is current season.
0?
Yeah, against the Raptors.
It's that game. Come on,
yeah, but he was held to 0. It was people kind of laughed at him because he missed. I think it was something like 12 shots he took.
Yeah, there's no way. It's like because obviously the Bucks are there as well, and there's Giannis there. But the thing is, when the playoffs come along, and you can scheme for every player. There's no scheme to stop KD. There's no scheme to stop James Harden because they can shoot and they can drive. There are ways to stop Embiid. It's been done before. Even the Celtics without Kyrie, without Kemba, stopped them. So, 76ers have been stopped before. Ben Simmons' game is a great player, but he's also limited. So, I'm rolling with the Nets all the way. And if they don't get it done, they'll have it to answer for. That's me.
So you going for the Nets? I'm going for Philadelphia. Anthony?
Go down to the bloody damn Kyrie guy, but I'm gonna go for. Actually, I don't know about Kyrie, so I'm gonna assume he's not in the mix right now. 76ers.
76ers. Obi?
I'll say the Bucks.
Oh, okay. Steven, from the East?
I'm going to go 76ers just because of their current depth.
Sorry, yeah, rewind my decision. Sorry, yeah, 76ers. Thinking about it, they didn't really get enough pieces for Giannis this season. So yeah, definitely the Sixers. Yeah.
Ty?
That's as
But
well.
don't sleep on the Hornets though.
I feel for my guy in Washington, Westbrook. I love him as a player, but it's not looking good for him. And it just kind of proves when you're on top of the game, you don't want to waste those years because that window to win a chip isn't always going to be there,